I've eaten a lot of raccoon. Yes. The answer is yes. And I've eaten it hunting. I've actually had it served by my mom at the table away from hunting. And I have eaten raccoon. And yes, it's not uncommon at all. I'll tell you something that is one of my favorites is squirrel. And it's wonderful, and my mother could do a great job of it. And we all had our favorite pieces, and my dad and sister, I have one sibling, a sister, and they would fight over, not fight, but my mom and I, it was just my sister and I as far as siblings, my mom and I wouldn't even ask for the brain in a squirrel.
Oh, man.
And delicious, seriously.
My dad loves cow
my
brain.
sister always got it, or my dad.
The fight over the brain. Jerry?
Wow. They're fighting over squirrels' brains. Well, good morning, good people. Mark Holmes here, of course, with my buddy Cowboy Joe Boo, as well as the Funky Chicken. And as always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. Hope everybody's having a great day. You know, I know we've lost so many Cowboy fans that Cowboy fans have already checked out, and it's the off season, and it's just like, you know, I'll see you next year, or maybe not. Maybe Cowboy fans have finally said enough is enough. It's kind of crazy. Now, what it was, I had to laugh this morning. I got up, you know, I come out here first thing in the morning, and I get my computer fired up, and you know, I start going through the you know, all the notes and things, and figuring out what I'm going to talk about each day, which with the Cowboys is easier probably than any other team out there, because there's always drama, even when there doesn't need to be. And lo and behold, I went to Bleacher Report this morning, first thing, and what do I see? I see an advertisement at the top of that for our Funky Chicken. You know, this is where it's kind of crazy, because a lot of times you may notice this, but you'll start seeing advertisements for things that you haven't searched for, you've talked about, and that's where I swear your cell phone is listening. Your cell phone is listening. I remember one time I was talking about a walk-in bathtub. Never looked it up, but then lo and behold, on my Instagram feed, on everything, I was seeing walk-in bathtubs. So be careful what you say out there, because Google, Alexa, and whoever the Apple one is, they're always listening. They may not answer, but they're always listening, right? All this time, I've been advertising the Funky Chicken for nothing. So, here we are. We got 3 games left, 2.5 weeks to be exact. I've got the Dan Saleo show, of course, today, which, God, it's been painful. I sit here and I ask myself, why do I do this? I don't get paid. I did it. I don't even know why I do it. And it's like every week it just gets worse, because the Eagles are playing well and winning. After this week, it'll get even harder, because it'll be Cowboys, Eagles week, and so on. So it is what it is. But now, I want to say to you guys that the Cowboys, you know, we're headed for the offseason, 2.5 weeks from now. And my one wish is that the Cowboys break the cycle. They must break the cycle and do something different, but I'm afraid that they're probably not going to, because you can already see some of the things that they've done, that they're doing right now, that are the same as shit that they've done in the past. But they have to break the cycle to get a different result. We've been doing the same things for the last 30 years, and it's not leading us to a Super Bowl. And I wish I could get in a room with Jerry and Stephen Jones and just say, listen, just you know, here's truth serum. Do you guys really care about winning a Super Bowl? Do you really care about winning a Super Bowl? Your fans have made you the most valuable franchise in football. You penny pinched to try and save money. You didn't sign free agents, and we see how that worked. Because you always say, well, we don't want to overspend because then, of course, we're going to have a bad season. Well, you didn't overspend. You had a bad season, and you see how that turned out. So let's go ahead and try something different. But I'm afraid, we're going to get the same thing. And here's what I'm going to tell you.
Oh, I say it again. You've been had. You've been took. You've been hoodwinked. Bamboozled. Led astray. Run amok. This is what he does.
This is what they do. So right now, we have one guy that is the big kahuna to get paid. The big kahuna to get paid, Micah Parsons. And now, of course, the offseason not even here yet. He's under the 5th-year contract. And already we've got Stephen Jones literally talking about, well, we got to evaluate paying players. And I don't know how that's any different than, Dak Prescott's got to understand he's got to leave some of the pie on the table, or we're not going to reset the market like we did with Zeke Elliott. Or, we thought we had a deal with DeMarcus Lawrence, for $18 million. Now he wants 21. All of these things that go through and end up delaying getting these things done have done nothing to help the team. If anything, hurt them. And lo and behold, we have that rumor. I want to play something for you guys. Shout out to Mike Fisher. Listen to this on trading Micah Parsons.
Good morning, Cowboys in Fishhead Nation. What? Good morning, Fishheads in Cowboys Nation. I'm Mike Fisher, your trusty and trusted reporter. This is the Fishbowl. That is the start. Straight dope, no bullshit this morning on a rumor that has caught fire. Or is it a report that's caught fire regarding CeeDee Lamb?
Oh, wrong
contract,
clip. Wrong clip.
And a trade demand? First of all, let me say, if you're a person of a certain age, and boy am I,
like me,
my journalistic world and then your world as a Cowboy consumer was a lot easier back in the day.
This is important here, guys.
Yes, thank you for subscribing here. 71,000 subscribers now. Incredible to me. And with all due humility, of which I have little, I never quite expected that. But here we are. Also, would you please smash the like button? That beats the algorithms and tells YouTube what kind of Cowboy programming you want. Like this. As you know, 35 years on the Cowboy beat for me, 40 years covering the NFL. And
we'll
back
get to
before there was social media, back before even there was the internet, yes, that's how old I am. When it came to Cowboy coverage, it was basically the two newspapers. Now, ESPN, there was the advent of ESPN early on. And there was Chris Mortensen early on. But outside of that, even by the way, the idea of a newspaper employing an NFL writer, that did not exist in 1990. It didn't exist until our newspaper kicked the other newspaper's ass so badly that they moved the Cowboy beat writer. Instead of firing him, they moved him and they created a new job and called him an NFL beat writer.
Evolved?
There was one NFL beat writer at the Boston paper in the entire country till that happened. So there was no such job.
Okay, I'm going to stop there for a second. There's a reason why I wanted you to hear all of the background here is because, see, here's the thing. Now you have X, you've got Bleacher Report, you've got NFL Network, you got ESPN, you've got Fox Sports, you have YouTube, and everybody is looking for content and things to talk about.
Oh, I say it again. You've been had. You've been took. You've been hoodwinked. Bamboozled. Led astray. Run amok. This is what he does.
And it's real easy for the slightest thing to be broken up and made into something bigger than it is. Go on, Mike. I'm sorry to disturb you.
you had this newspaper and this newspaper, and at one point a third newspaper in Dallas covering the Cowboys, and that's where you got your news. That's all changed. Now everybody's a newsman, and I don't denigrate in any way the possibility that somebody on Twitter knows something. VJ, I used to get the Dallas Cowboys official weekly mailed to me. Yes, there was that too.
I remember that. We used to get that.
And by the way, I should also say, they're by Dale Hansen and others on TV. By 1995, I'm on 570 Cliff, and there's a sports station, and I got it's Norm Hitzges and myself and the sports. So other media outlets, but by and large, you want the breaking news that was credible.
Mm-hmm.
There was two places to go, and that was it. Now you got to be on the alert for all sorts of places where you might have to go. And that takes me to the C.D. Lamb fake news going viral.
Mm-hmm.
Lamb has a $32 million trade demand, or else. And the last time I looked, it was 24 hours ago, this tweet from this guy had 500,000 views. Probably has 1 million views now. So I'm not being dismissive when I say, because this much is also fact. Straight dope, no bullshit. If you want your 15 minutes of social media fame, if you want your 15 minutes, in the old days, you really had to work for it. Now, you can just put something on Twitter.
There you go.
You can pretend to break a news story about the Dallas Cowboys, and there's a very good chance that 500,000 people will adhere themselves to it. C.D. Lamb, coming off an all-pro year. He's made it clear that he might miss training camp in Oxnard as a result of a holdout, as part of a holdout that reflects his desire for a new contract extension. These things are facts. The Cowboys, by the way, are fully aware of all this. They have an idea what number they want to pay. They have an idea what number he wants.
Mm-hmm.
They are aware of the holdout possibility. This ain't there.
Right, we got enough of it, but you get the gist of this. And when I say we need to break the cycle, it's because this is what we do. This is what we do. We end up keeping everybody happy to have something to talk about. And so right now on a season that's been ass, we're talking about trading Micah and so on. When Stephen Jones and Jerry, their whole mantra last year was, we're going all in, which they didn't, but they're going all in to keep Dak, CD, and Micah. And that has not changed. But what's going to happen is you're going to hear every week about, Cowboys are thinking about trading, Micah. The Cowboys, that Micah's going to hold out. It's going to be the news story to carry the offseason. And I hope and wish and pray that the Cowboys would break this cycle. Surprise everybody and get this thing done and get to work. Now, I'm going to point out something. I said last night in my fireside chat late, it was about 12 o'clock when I did it. Fell asleep on the couch watching TV with the wife. In 2013, with Jason Garrett, after having 3 years of 8-8, when there were calls for people to fire Jason Garrett, the Cowboys decided to take the play calling away from Jason Garrett. Okay? And I want to show you the statistics here of where the Cowboys were in 2013. Let's pull it up here. So when we look at the numbers here, the Cowboys offense, scoring offense, 5th and 16th in yardage, okay? The defense was 26th and 32nd in yardage. The defense was bad. I will give you that. The amazing thing was, after that season, they let go DeMarcus Ware and Jason Hatcher. Jason Hatcher, who had a career year, having 11 sacks, signed a big contract with Washington to go back to having 3 or 4 sacks a year like he had before. But if you notice something, the Cowboys' passing attack, they were 13th in attempts, 14th. Do I have the wrong? Yeah, I got 2013. 13th in passing attempts, 14th in yards. But take a look at this, running the football. They were 31st in running the football, 24th in yards, 18 in TDs, and 8 in yards per attempt. Okay. So what did the Cowboys do? They didn't fire Jason Garrett, unless you say they fired him for being the play caller. They ended up bringing in Bill Callahan, making him the offensive coordinator, and he reversed things. They went from being 13th in passing attempts to actually 31st. But they ended up being number 3 in running the football, which they were 2nd in yards, 5th in TDs, and 3rd yard per average. That team rushed the hell out of the football. They had 2,354 yards on the ground. And that team went 12-4 and was the catch no catch away from going to the NFC Championship game. On the other side of it, Tony Romo had statistically one of the best years that he ever had, because he was able to not get killed, not have to be the only way that we would win was through Tony Romo's arm. He only threw 3,700 yards, but we had 37 TD passes. And it was deadly in comparison to the year before. And so my point being here is, maybe that's in fact what the Cowboys need to do this year. Take the play calling away from Mike McCarthy. Let him be the CEO of the team, sit in on defensive meetings, be the guy who's the friend to the players and stuff. Let somebody else do the play calling. Now, there's going to be some head coaches out there that are going to be let go that are offensive-minded guys that may be trying to reset the clock. In the same way that you brought in Dan Quinn, who had been fired from Atlanta on the defensive side, you brought him in, he came in and he built a great defense, rejuvenated his career, and went on to become the head coach of the Washington Commanders. And maybe that's the type of thing that the Cowboys need to do. But more than anything else, I think the Cowboys need to break this cycle, that we've got to stop being the off-season drama, that we need to be about actually business, because the off-season drama and all that, people have checked out. The numbers right now for everybody across the board that are covering the Cowboys are way down. Nobody cares. So the approach of let's stay in the news by being crazy, talking about eating squirrel brains, that's not going to do it. Think about how many jerseys you'd sell if you're in the NFC Championship or going to the Super Bowl, Jerry. Think about all of the publicity for the right reasons. And this starts now. If you're going to keep Mike McCarthy, get this deal done before the end of the season. Before the end of the season. If you're not, come Monday after the season, you fire him and you start the process and you get your guy as soon as possible. Forget the media. The media will take care of itself. Because you need Mike McCarthy to be here to develop a plan, to dissect the body and say, where can we be better? We need everybody. And if you're going to keep Will McClay, get him here now, because there's going to be people come the Monday after the season that's over that are going to look for a GM. And you're risking losing that guy if you believe in him. Get this stuff done. Get Micah Parsons' deal done, save the $10 million in the cap for next year, and use that in free agency to plug one of these many holes. Now, I'm waiting to see how long it takes before people say we should sign Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins has been benched in Atlanta. And if they do not hold on to him, they release him, he will have made $92 million for 14 games.
Great.
Everything good on this side of the
Y'all trying to
table?
match me. Y'all coordinated.
I'm just making sure. These guys are here too.
We back.
Big news last night while you were sleeping. Enormous quarterback news from Atlanta. Michael Penix Jr. is the new starting quarterback for the Falcons. Kirk Cousins to the bench. This announced by Coach Raheem Morris last night. Cousins 9 picks, 1 touchdown pass across his past 5 games. You remember Penix? He led Washington to the national championship game last season. Falcons stunned the world by taking him number 8 overall in the draft. And you may say to yourself, well, why was the world so stunned? Lest you forget, that came after the Falcons on March 11th had signed Kirk Cousins, a 36-year-old quarterback coming off an Achilles injury, to a 4-year, $180 million contract with $100 million guaranteed. If they release him,
got a great agent.
If they release him after this and he does not play for them again, they will have paid him $90 million to play 14 games. This is the franchise that decided at the last moment they didn't need Bill Belichick's help. I will keep coming back to that. Come on, this is an abject.
There's so many different ways to go. And he managed to. He just bulldozed right over everything. Michael Penix, young kid, getting his first chance. Kirk Cousins, Achilles recovering. You know what? You know what have fixed all of that? Bill Belichick.
Well, because here's the problem. I hear people,
right now.
thank goodness. Look how genius it was that they took Penix. After all, they knew what they were doing. They paid the man $100 million guaranteed dollars. And so now you're going to try and tell me, oh, well, this was actually great foresight by the Falcons to have a succession plan.
Well, listen, you can either make a mistake or you can actually get a solution. Like, this move could save their season. So credit to them for at least doing it, getting the insurance policy so that they're in this position, they have somebody to turn to. Does it make up for the contract? No.
Yeah.
But at least they have somewhere to go now.
And I can honestly say, I don't know, and this is no joke. I've played 14 years. I've watched football my entire life. I don't think I've ever seen a player fall off a cliff. The first 9 games to what he's done in these past 5, it's crazy. Honestly, I've never seen it tank this bad. And he looks dejected. He looks confused, which you would not think about a guy who's played. He looks like he has no confidence in any. I mean, it's like the last shot of a Roman candle when he thinks, you know what I mean? It's like, but you look at, he looks like everything. He has a string attached to everything. He wants to pull it back as soon as he throws it. I've never seen Kirk Cousins look this way. I think it left Raheem Morris no other option, which is disappointing because Atlanta still has a chance of having a home playoff game, which is monumental. But I'm telling you, whatever's going on with Kirk Cousins, I have not seen it before, and it's shocking to me in all honesty.
And I'm still trying to qualify whether or not it is because of the Achilles, because he's trying to navigate coming back from that, not being at full strength. The only adjective that you can give Kirk Cousins, the only one you can't give him at this point is underpaid. Like everything else hits because he's not mobile in the pocket. They didn't throw a single first down pass. That's the first time ever.
Which by the way, did not help him.
No, exactly. That's the point. They're trying to call the offense around the deficiencies that Kirk Cousins has put on display over this stretch of the season.
I would think you want to do the opposite.
Me too.
First down is when they are not expecting this. You want to throw then. But to your point, he was inaccurate in this game. His arm looked weak in this game. He also wasn't mobile in this game. And he's an older guy, and it's a serious injury. As much as we want to pretend like you can come back from everything, he hasn't come back from everything. And he's a far cry from what he was early in the season when he was walking in traps and taking over traps. traps. Right. He is no longer boss man D-Lo. He is returning all traps. The traps are now back to their original holders.
You actually said something really interesting yesterday when we were talking about him.
Oh, did I?
You said when he walked in and they interviewed him, they said, "What are you going to do differently?" He said, "Run more." And you looked at me, you were like, "This dude just said run more, not accuracy." Run more.
Laughing at my whole time.
That perked up. We always talk about something made me perk up and listen. Run more, Kirk Cousins. Not the option I'm selecting.
So this is the end, I guess, of his season. I would ask quickly before we move on to other matters. Kirk Cousins has had a fine career, terrific career. He's made a lot. Again, he's majored in making a lot of money, but he's played well. I mean, he's been a very good player.
For sure.
Do we think that this is essentially the end of it? On week one of the 2025 season, will he be a starting quarterback in the NFL?
I mean, only if Atlanta eats all the contract. There's no one's going to do. Atlanta would have to eat the contract, and then there's potential
to release
if it carries with it that burden of a contract, nobody's going to.
I guess I would have said the same thing about Russell Wilson.
That was going to be my point. I was going to nail that one, but you jumped into it.
My bad. Apologies.
But I agree.
I jumped the route.
Like a true DB, right?
But this is just a little hating on Russell. Russell Wilson threw 26 touchdowns and like 8 picks over a year.
Kirk Cousins hasn't. About the contract.
Don't compare those
That's
two.
the analogy of the conversation.
No, y'all trying to throw shade on my man Russell Wilson. No, I ain't here for it.
I'm with Russell Wilson. To your point about Kirk Cousins, I don't think that they trade for this contract. I do think he's a starting quarterback next year because he's a little bit healthier. And this is also the first sign that we've got from him that there could be something.
We live in a world where Jameis and Joe Flacco have literally gotten starting jobs. He is talented enough. And QB desperation in the NFL.
Yeah, week one, though, with the contracts, it makes them.
Save that. The Russell Wilson criticism comes a little later in the show. In the meantime, let's do.
Well, he's not starting his team.
All right, we can end it right there. So there's another option. I know Dak Prescott haters will say, "Go get Kirk Cousins." So yeah, there's that. So remember, Cowboys, please, 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 let's try something different. All right, good people, as always, I appreciate you guys, and have a great day.